been asking on my NAS blogs why I don't have a home theater PC or why I'm not using it as a home theater PC. The biggest reason right now is because my TV is all the way over there and my computer and my NAS are over here. And I've got no room around the TV where I want to keep it. I like having them separate, so I've finally decided to buy the hardware to go ahead and build a home theater PC. It is right here in front of me. The powerhouse, the engine behind it's going to be this Ryzen 1500X CPU and this ASRock, I don't know how you say it, AB350M motherboard. This Silverstone GD90B case will fit exactly in a little cubby in my entertainment center. I've got the MSI GeForce GTX 1050 Ti for the GPU. The rest of what I've got are 16 gigs of memory, Samsung 850 Evo SSD, it's 250 gigabyte version, some sort of LG Blu-ray writer and reader, and then I've got a bunch of odds and ends. I've got one of my ancient 2 terabyte hard drives that I pulled out of my NAS at least one upgrade ago that has just been sitting around. I'm going to keep it around in case I want to store anything right on the home theater PC, like maybe some games or stuff. I've got a little Bluetooth adapter, and I've got this infrared receiver, so hopefully I can program my remote to work with it. And lastly, just in case my mom and dad are watching, I have this Logitech C922 webcam to use so you can see your grandson sitting on the couch. So without further ado, I'm going to start pulling stuff around. I've got my lovely assistant over here off camera.
Hello, it's me.
If you've got any questions in chat, or if I need to go over something again, or if you want to make fun of me, make sure you say it in chat. Pat will tell me all about it, and I will chuckle at how awkward all of this is. All right.
So Brian,
what's up, Pat?
How do you know that fits in your entertainment center?
Well, I measured it.
Do you trust your measurements? Have you tried putting it in there?
I have not tried putting it in there. I trust my measurements, and I suppose in the absolute worst case scenario, I could find another place for it at or around the TV. I wasn't precise in figuring it would work, but I'm pretty confident. This tie from hell. I was just wondering if I have somewhere to mount the SSD, or if I'm going to wish I had a 3.5 inch to 2.5 inch drive bracket. Maybe we can put Pat to work and get him to fire up my 3D printer and make us design and make us a couple.
Do you want me to look in there?
No.
Okay.
I think I can mount it.
We're up to 3 viewers, Brian.
3 viewers?
3 viewers.
How many of them are us?
All of them.
All of them? Well, that's okay. Yeah, I can mount that. That'll work just fine.
What can I get you?
Well, now I'm worried about whether the hard drive will fit in there also. That may have been some wishful thinking on my part. Just hoping that I could just slap one of my old hard drives in there. Because if the optical drive goes in the top of this and the SSD goes in the bottom,
that's it.
That's it. There's no more room, as I understand it. So I wish I had. Is there somewhere that I wish that I had an SSD that I don't have an SSD right now and just go with that 2 terabyte hard drive for storage?
No.
I really want to run, and I really want the OS on the SSD, so that doesn't. That doesn't work.
What's that you got there, Brian?
Well, this is a motherboard. This is the ASRock, whatever. I can't remember its model. AB350M. Trying to figure out if I want more support underneath the motherboard other than the default standoffs that they include here. 4. I wouldn't mind. 2 more? These 2?
Alex says you should just slap it in there.
Who's Alex?
Oh, Alex is going to be very disappointed.
Get out some of that spray foam. Just spray it down and put it down. Yeah.
It'll be fine.
It's insulation. It doesn't conduct, right?
What do you call those things you just spilled out there, Brian?
Well, that's a bag of screws and standoffs. What do you call them, Pat?
Stuff. Hardware. Bits and bobs.
Bits and bobs.
You know, Brian, I remember a time back in the mid '90s. Do you think Alex remembers the mid '90s?
Was Alex? Yes, I'm sure he does. So what?
I upgraded from a who knows what, a 486 something to a Cyrix P200. And I couldn't afford another case, and I figured I would have no trouble fitting that motherboard in my old case, but I couldn't. It did not actually fit. The standoffs didn't line up, nothing lined up. So it sat in there for about a year and a half, just sitting on the piece of bubble wrap that it came in, that anti-static pink bubble wrap.
Yep.
Just between the motherboard and the only thing that held it in was the video card, the network card, and the Sound Blaster card.
One of my first jobs when I moved down here to Texas was working at a computer store, and I had a fair amount of people come in your same exact predicament that had mounted their motherboards in any number of interesting ways using interesting materials like duct tape. There is a lot of stuff on this case.
It has one of those little doohickeys that holds all the slot covers down.
Yeah.
And half a slot cover. What?
This is holds this one in.
It would have been too easy to just put a screw in the slot cover.
Yeah.
To hold one in.
Well, the screws are still there. I got to get this whole piece off to get to those screws. You
How
see
come
that?
Alex isn't hanging out at this live stream?
Yeah, why aren't you here, Alex?
That's just crazy.
So this will need two. So what would you do if you had a home theater PC, Pat?
I would play video games on it.
That's why I got the 1050 Ti. Some video games.
Some video games. I would not play Team Fortress 2 on the TV.
You seem like the kind of guy that would play with a PlayStation 3 controller.
Play Team Fortress 2 with a PlayStation controller?
Yeah?
Oh God, why would you say that about me?
Alright. So got this lined up.
I'm going to pretend I know how to use Twitter.
You are a celebrated tweeter, are you not?
I'm going to tweet a screenshot of the live stream on my phone.
That's exciting.
To prove that it's working.
Alright. In this sea of parts, here it is. There is a CPU somewhere. It looks delicious.
Oh, it does look delicious.
Yeah, I want to lick it, but I'm not gonna. Do you know if your wife is watching?
No, it doesn't say who's watching.
Oh, that's too bad. I almost wore the "I pooped today" T-shirt she got me for Christmas.
Almost.
Almost.
Why not?
Well, I was worried about the video composition and the colors.
It is very brown.
It is quite brown. you know this already, but the internet doesn't. I wore that shirt the other day on a Sunday. I wasn't planning on going anywhere, and then we had unexpected company coming up, and I wanted to make sure that I had enough controllers for the PlayStation 4. So I ran to Best Buy real quick to pick up a couple extras. And while I was there, I walked by this, let's say, elderly gentleman, and he gave me the nastiest look. Like, he looked at me, and he was clearly offended by my presence in the store. And
why would he be offended by your presence?
well, it probably wasn't my presence, but I did a double take, and I just kind of gave him this, what the F look. And then I kept on going my way, and I looked down and saw that I was wearing the shirt that said, "I pooped today," with the stick man going like that. And then I laughed really loud. Both at myself and at the guy who was mad about my t-shirt.
So what are you doing there, Brian? I've been not paying attention.
Well, I am trying to figure out how I'm going to mount this CPU fan.
How did you already get the CPU in there? I didn't even see you open it or anything.
It is, I have pat-like quickness is the...
Unbelievable. So what would happen if you licked the thermal grease on there?
Well, I think it would probably taste pretty bad. It would probably impede the cooler's ability to reduce the heat of the CPU by a few degrees. So what do you think? These just come off? I am absolutely winging this.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's the way this works.
Yep.
Yeah, they change this stuff every 6 months on you. And yeah, you're doing the right thing. I just built a Ryzen machine not too long ago. This is familiar.
I thought the cooler might snap down on top of those things, but I think it screws right into these.
I think it does too.
The Wraith cooler.
This is the one that has LEDs on it.
Does
so
it
you,
really?
Yeah, so you know when your computer's on. You can tell by looking at it.
Well, that'll be exciting. I guess I should have gotten a case with a
hole inside.
A see-through window.
They're RGB LEDs. They're somehow programmable. Do you know what I didn't do?
Program them?
No, not at all. I don't even know if they turn on. I have no idea.
No, it's too bad. Well, I wanted to reduce the slack on that CPU the cooler cable.
Do you want me to get the soldering iron out? We can shorten it. We'll pretend it's a quadcopter.
If we pretend it's a quadcopter, we'd have to wreck it into something first. Oh, it's stuck down.
This is going to be amazing, Brian.
Why is it going to be
You're
amazing?
about to retweet something while you're working.
Watch me multitask. I'm doing it like I'm changing a spare tire, Pat.
Crisscross.
I'm crisscrossing just in case it rotates too much. I don't want it to come loose.
I'm resisting the urge to retweet every one of my tweets that I see here.
I'm pretty sure I got most of them.
Well, you've been busy for the last hour. He doesn't know.
It didn't come off.
It did not. That means you did a good job.
I shook it real hard. I need bifocals.
Oh, somebody's saying something.
Uh-oh. What are they saying?
Bring on the girls in the bikinis. Man, I can't say your name because I just can't. I don't know how. I'm afraid. I can take my top off, but I don't think you'd like that.
Yeah, we'd really appreciate if you didn't. All right, A1 and B1 for the Ram. Ram's expensive anymore.
Ram is stupid expensive. Man, I was pricing Ram for the build I want to do. It's $800 just for Ram. I'm trying to be artistic back here. There's light shafts. That's
I'm gonna maybe regret that I put this in. So a suggestion for any other builders out there, when working with this great big Wraith cooler, I would put the Ram in before you put the cooler in, because I had to almost work it in at an angle there, and that was stress inducing. That initial crunch, it's a lot of fun. Uh-oh, I got a notification.
uh-oh.
Someone's tweeting about me. If you were like Pat and you wanted to use this motherboard and build a NAS out of it, I would almost recommend getting some sort of SATA controller card, because there's only 4 SATA ports on this motherboard. You probably also want to go with a different case that has more room for hard drives than this one. How brazen am I going to be about building this, Pat?
Good question. I'm too stupid to know what you're asking. How brazen?
Well, a lot of the times when building a machine, I like to put it together and power it up component by component, and make sure it posts and nothing's being grounded out.
Oh, jeez.
And sometimes I just kind of wing it, and I skip all that and I put it together and I take a deep breath when I turn it on the first time and hope that everything comes up and is working.
I'm doing a bad job paying attention to the chat while I'm tweeting here.
Uh-oh, what are they saying?
Ska Jack Wada is how I'm supposed to pronounce that.
Yes,
it's Jeff.
It is Jeff.
It's a lot of work being the
Color commentator?
You're
the
I was
announcer.
gonna say sidekick, but I didn't know if that was. I didn't know if that was okay.
Well, it's your title, so as long as it doesn't offend you.
It's true.
Uh-oh. I whiffed. Analytics.
Yeah, it tells you what resolution people are streaming at.
Anybody out there at 640 by 480?
No, yes.
Seriously?
Well, there's 360p, 480p, and 240p.
Huh.
These poor people at 240p. So, what are you doing there, Brian? I'm doing a bad job of making sure you tell everybody what's going on here. That looks like a video card.
I put in the video card, and I'm screwing its brackets in. And to hit it, you've got to go through the top of the case.
Oh, jeez.
And I've got shaky hands because I'm old and frail.
Do you think they figured that out the first or second time they stamped out this case?
Some poor guy whose job was to build the first machine, and he got it,
and he couldn't.
And he couldn't. One of those 90-degree ratcheting screwdrivers, little tiny one. I did a bad job.
You took out the thing that didn't need taken out.
Yeah. And then when I tried to put it back in, it's not cooperating. You guys should see Pat as he limbos underneath the camera.
I have actually limboed under it twice. The other times I've just ducked.
All right. Now it's time for my least favorite part of assembling any computer. And that's hooking up.
Ooh, can I guess what it is?
What is it?
Hooking up the LEDs and power switches and reset buttons and whatnot.
This is, by and large, the worst part of putting together any kind of computer. Oh, hey, look at that. It's got directions on what to do with that CPU fan.
Oh, good.
It says I did a good job.
Now, you know, Brian, you've been streaming for, I don't know how, it tells me somewhere here, for 29 and a half minutes.
Holy
and we
moly.
have not actually verified the audio levels or anything. I'm going to go walk in there while you talk.
Okay. Yeah, make sure that we're not killing everybody.
We are professionals.
No, we are not. Alright. System panel header.
Anything, we're a little quiet, Brian.
Are we?
Yeah.
Should we turn it up a little louder?
Yeah, do you know how to do that? I'm going to find out.
USB.
Look at that, it's turned up all the way. Whoa. There's all kinds of stuff in there.
You sounded really excited when he said that.
I did. What's your,
HD audio, something. COM1.
input? There's an input level switch on your microphone. I'm going to bump it up.
Chassis fan. Alright. Panel 1. Is that what this is called? Holy moly. We didn't get the 4 cinder blocks that we talked about last time I did a build at the
what
kitchen
did we
table.
use? Buckets?
Yeah, we used Home Depot buckets, right?
Little
We used
Home Depot buckets.
little Home Depot buckets to make the table taller ones for building a NAS. It was nice because when I'm done with this, I'll be feeling it right here. Oh, Lord. I suppose you need me to talk while you're over there.
No, it's
Check.
fine.
Check. Oh, that's right.
I went from 50 to 60.
Did you?
It's not a very big difference.
Power up 15. No, that's not what I'm after.
Okay, I went up to 75 this time. You think that's enough?
Yes. Does it, how are you determining whether you're at 75 or not?
There's a number on there.
No, like, when you go over there and listen to it, since
Pay
it...
attention to what you're saying.
Okay. That's why I'm saying all these words, so that you get a good measure. Alright. See them. System panel 1.
Antonio Gonzalez has a statement or a question. And now that I'm back from checking the volume levels, I can read this to you.
What's it say?
Are you ready here, Brian? This is a long one.
Okay.
Antonio is from Barcelona, Spain. He says, operating suggestion for HTPC/NAS/etc. with an ASRock. It's not this one, is it? Where's the number?
AB350.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Different
It's
motherboard.
Different motherboard. 8 gig VCC RAM, 250 gig SSD, Western Digital Red 2 terabyte times 4 in a case that I don't. What's this case called?
Silverest one.
Does it have a number? Or
Silverstone
there's
GDO9B.
No, this is an IWMS04. I don't know what
Okay.
that is.
Doesn't
I
ring any
Google it.
bells.
Thank you. That was a question mark and a thank you.
Okay. Operating system?
Operating system for HTPC/NAS.
That's a tough question to answer. I have the good fortune of having an experienced Unix sysadmin on call almost 24/7. So I usually get away with using things that I'm not especially comfortable with, like what I did with my NAS builds and using FreeNAS, which is built on top of FreeBSD. For my HTPC, I'm actually going to use a Windows OS. I'm going to use Windows 10, and I'm going to run Kodi on top of it. That doesn't really answer your question. I think what I would tell you to do is to use what you have the most comfort with, and go with that. And if you're brave and you want to try something new, there are any number of different Linux distributions that I think that you could probably start adding and removing some of the components that you need for an HTPC and for a NAS onto. I hope that helps.
I think that's a good answer, Brian.
All right. Panel number 1.
I know you talked about this at the very beginning, but we didn't have anybody watching yet.
Okay.
What are you actually planning on using this home theater PC for? I know home theater PC is a very generic term. I know you're just not going to watch YouTube videos on here.
It's pretty broad. Well, right now at my TV, I've got the PlayStation 4. I've got an Amazon Fire TV. I've got the Chromecast. I've got some little Western Digital guy, and they all seem to do something differently. And I'm trying to bring more of those all into a single device. So, I'm hoping that I can replace a couple of those devices, maybe play a few games, maybe tap into my Steam library, which I don't have access to everything in PS4 titles. Maybe...
Some of us have too many games in our Steam library.
Yeah. Our Steam libraries are pretty broad, and a lot of those seem like they'd be fun games to play while sitting on the couch. And
I know I have a lot of games that I would never play on sitting at my desk.
Yeah.
In my Steam library, and I'd love to play them on the TV.
Yep. Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm hoping. All right. We have ground to a halt. Holy moly. Hard drive LED plus.
A lot of you guys don't know this about Brian, but he can't talk and wire up LEDs and power and reset buttons while he explains important things.
And I can't even really explain important things very well. I need time and letters and words to write. You want to quit bumping?
I bumped the camera
You want to quit bumping into my camera?
This is the second time. Oh, don't tell them I did that.
They're gonna see it here in about 2 seconds. Reset positive. I don't think that this is...
You were standing so still while you were looking into that computer that I thought the video froze up. Right.
I'm going to move a little bit more all the time so you know that it's not frozen.
We did a good job getting the table level in the video.
Uh-huh.
But the picture's a little bit at an angle because of
Here,
that. So we need to hang it. It's got to go this way.
This way?
No, that's the wrong way. The other way. Wow, that's perfect. It looks perfect. You got it now. Now it's level.
Now it's level. Everything's level. I hope that he's watching. My dad took that picture.
Where is that?
That is Maroon Bells in the mountains of Colorado, not too far from Aspen, if I remember correctly. Reset. Power LED positive. And power LED negative.
Brian, we got to get you to buy better printer paper.
Why is that?
This is very thin.
It was cheap.
Well, that's why.
The better answer to that would be we got to print fewer things. Oh more, get on there. All right. Am I reading this right? Power LED, power button, and ground.
Usually when Brian asks me if he's reading something right, I assume he's not. That's the right answer usually.
Well, this one's easy. Go right here. And this one's also easy. It goes right here. The front panel USB is quite important.
Yeah, you'll never get to the back of this thing.
You know what I never did?
No.
I never screwed down the motherboard. I just pushed on something and it moved. I'm like, well, that shouldn't move.
Brian, is it important to screw down the motherboard?
Yes.
We can't just put it on a piece of
bubble
wrap?
Well,
I've done this before, but that was... I don't want to tell you that was 30 years ago, because it probably wasn't. It was probably 20 years ago.
Why don't we say it was closer to 30 years ago than 20 years ago?
It might have been. No, it can't be. Could it?
Cyrex,
yeah, it could be. It's getting there.
Cyrex P200? Yeah. I don't think that's the right screw. I like that screw, but not the right side.
First started our blogs, and we would check our traffic all the time, and you know, you'd be looking at your analytics, and on a day when I wrote a blog, and you know, I'd be looking for links to old blogs, and I'd be Googling myself to find them, and I would triple my traffic for the day. That's what this reminds. This
all
these
by
numbers,
yourself.
Yeah, all by myself.
All right. I did a bad thing.
Uh-oh.
Did you see what I did?
No. Oh, geez, you didn't tighten in the...
No, I had it pretty tight.
Yeah, when you tighten it, should tighten it more.
You would think. And that, folks, is how you know I'm not a professional.
This is when a professional would put the technical difficulties logo up on the screen and play a little ditty from the 1960s.
The Benny
Benny
Hill theme, yeah. Well, at least I found out that the CPU cooler is on there pretty good. Alright, so now I will actually screw down the motherboard like I should have done ages ago. I guess it was these short guys.
Hey Brian, on the bottom of your video here, it says BrianCMoses.com. I've never seen that before.
You haven't? That's brand new. That's one of the.
Shut up.
It's one of the exciting things from this weekend. When I first bought my vanity domain name, this was back in the late 90s? Late 90s? Some poet in England had already gotten BrianMoses.com ahead of me. And good for him. I mean, he seemed like a decent dude. I didn't like any of his poetry though. So as a consolation prize, I wound up grabbing BrianMoses.net for my vanity domain and used it for ages. And I decided I really wanted a .com domain for my blog. And it just so happened that my Twitter handle, BrianCMoses.com, was available. So this past weekend, I turned it on, and later this week, I will wind up redirecting all of the BrianMoses.net traffic over to BrianCMoses.com. And I hope and pray that Google still likes me after I've done that. That's a huge concern. Just about everybody who reads my blog, 80% of you, find me from Google. So
please don't hate him, Google.
Please don't hate me, Google.
Brian, while you were telling that fine story, I figured out being the guy that's been watching the camera and everything, you've made a wardrobe mistake.
What wardrobe mistake did I make?
Your hat is so bright.
I actually put thought into this, and I opted for a white hat versus a black hat because I didn't...
It would have been okay if it wasn't for the light bulb being right in front of
Yep.
Yep. Professionals with a webcam. That's what we are not.
We are professionals. Nice job. You didn't bump the camera.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right. So we have motherboard. We have the RAM installed. We have all the hardware connected to the motherboard. We have the CPU fan plugged in, and we have, or are about to have, the case fan plugged in. Not real excited about where the case fan, where all this cable goes. Don't like that. I don't think I'm going to get much choice in. Ooh, look at that. Fancy cable management. Not really. Not fancy at all. Well, you know what's next, right?
Power supply.
Yep, the power supply. I picked the GPU, the 1050 Ti, in part because it doesn't require more power from the power supply. It gets all of its power from the bus.
It's a shorty card too.
Yep.
Half height.
Half height.
You thought you might have been picking a different case too, didn't you?
I did, yeah. At one point I had picked a case that was quite a bit thinner than this case was. And I vacillated between those really tiny cases and this one, and ultimately decided that the price of this case was worth the savings on this case versus those, and the hassle of working in teeny tiny cases. Anybody who's watching that's ever watched one of my NAS build videos knows that there's stretches of time in those videos where I'm taking something apart, wiggling around, putting it back together, and that repeats. And then in time lapse, doing this in full speed at 16 times took me minutes. You would just sit there and watch me put the same thing in, take it out, put the same thing in. That's a hassle that I just didn't want to deal with on this build.
Brian, our good friend Olivia has said she tuned in for the fancy cable management, not the regular cable management.
Ooh, fancy cable management. That's good.
And speaking of cable management, what are all those wires coming out of your power supply? Why didn't you buy a modular power supply?
I don't like the modular power. The modular power supplies are all expensive. And let's say 6 months down the road, when I add another drive, or I 3D print something so that I can add some more drives to this, or something along those lines, and I try to go and plug power into that, I'm going to have lost those extra cables. I'd rather just I'd rather rubber band them all together and stick them in the case and have them there later when I need them. All right, Pat, you're in charge of helping me find where I put the 4 power supply screws.
Jeez, Lou. Well, they're just case screws, aren't they? There should be a ton right there.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. These are finer.
They won't be fine. They'll be the rough, the coarse thread. That's one, but it's got a fancy lid. Oh, jeez.
Never gonna see that one again.
You don't have any.
Yeah, I don't.
You really
no,
don't.
I had a bag.
Oh, they were in a bag?
They were in a little bag.
Did you check under here?
Well, I haven't looked everywhere yet. That's why I said you were in charge. Some zip strings.
Right here. There's nothing in that bag
There's
at all.
nothing in that bag, though. That's not the bag.
Now, if you were a professional like me, you would go to your little assorted bin with sorted PC screws, hundreds of each kind, and you just get 4 out of there.
Yeah, I always throw those extras away. I have them here somewhere. I set them aside.
Oh, they're right here by me. I've been in charge of the case screws the entire time.
They were literally right next to Pat's phone.
They were in the control room.
They were in the control room. I'm Ron Jeremy. It's a combination of 2 things.
I wonder if the people that we respond to in the chat know, I wonder if they actually hear us. I wonder if they pay attention.
Has anybody had to repeat that?
Your brother Jeff said exactly what I said.
What's that?
Next time, don't put the mic on the table, because every time you do, it goes through the table. Well, we can move that.
We can move the mic.
Jeff, we can move this. What? Oh, man, I got stuck to the Velcro. I'm going to make this a little less stable.
Oh, all of this is pretty unstable.
I hope nobody can see what I'm doing. I'll be embarrassed.
You can just put it on top of the trash can there. But it's in the danger zone. You know, it's by your butt.
It was right next to my butthole the whole time. You should have a fancy headset like the infomercial guys, Brian.
I do not want a fancy headset like the infomercial guys.
And then you wouldn't be able to hear me. Alright, I'm going to do the volume check.
Alright, make sure that mic's still working. I can hear us.
Yeah, I cannot hear you as good now. I can hear me real good.
Interesting. Well, you're the one that was standing right next to it.
I know, right? No, you're not too bad. That'll be fine. You just make sure you speak up.
Nobody's ever accused me of being quiet.
Jeff says I'm nuts. You were coming in loud and clear. I was way louder. That's all I knew over there. I was worried. But I'm boisterous and, speak up and I'll help you.
No,
Oh.
I really don't like this. This is a feature of this case that I don't like. We'll show the internet. So there's room for an additional slot up here, and then all of the back slots have their screws. And this metal piece sits atop that, and then screws in 1, 2, 3 places by the time you put the cover back on.
And it's always in the way whenever you're using the real slots.
Yeah.
I think there's a screw under your case.
I think there's a few screws loose around here.
Jeff, I am playing Trade Wars. I have a
Merchant cruiser.
I have a merchant cruiser. I have a planet, and that's all I did so far. I didn't go very far. But Brian, what is this Trade Wars thing that Jeff is talking about here?
Jeff is talking about Trade Wars 2002. It's the topic of my most recent blog. Maybe somebody in the control room could paste that URL into the chat for me so everybody could take a moment to read it. But Trade Wars 2002 is what we called a door game from BBS's. Back in what was the heyday of BBS's? The late 80s, early 90s?
Sure.
Back before America Online existed. People were dialing into and they were dialing into BBS's all over the world, but usually the local ones. And they had many features. Among them was a sort of online gaming that they called door games. You would essentially dial into somebody else's computer from your computer and launch a game, and you would play it. And they were always turn-based. You had a certain number of turns.
When I used to do this, we started doing it at around 2400 baud.
Yeah,
not 56K.
24. What's the math there?
2.4. Compared to 56K,
yeah.
It's 2.4.
Well, I was trying to figure out what percentage slower 2400
a lot.
It's 2400 characters per second, right?
No, bits per second.
Bits per second. So 30 characters per second?
No, 230, a little over 230 was what we used to get when we downloaded stuff at 2400 baud. So 1 kilobyte about every 4 seconds.
Anyways, Trade Wars 2002 was a text game, or is a text game, that is space-based, and you effectively travel a universe, buy and sell goods.
This sounds like some sort of space trading game.
Yeah, space trading game. You would colonize planets, you would buy fighters, and you would rule the galaxy.
Olivia's getting an page with the Brian C. Moses link. Her DNS must not be ready yet.
Interesting. Try again in another day, Olivia. Sorry.
I'll post the old one.
Get that back in. This dumb place. Is that what this is? Maybe I don't want to do that yet.
Olivia, it says it's Brian that's pasting these things in, but that's a lie. He's over there building that computer there. I'm doing all the work.
I'm doing all the work. You're doing all the fun stuff.
Oh, she thinks YouTube added crap at the end. Tell YouTube not to be a butthole.
Well, this is interesting. We have a...
Is it a conundrum or is it good?
We have a conundrum.
I see the conundrum.
We have a conundrum.
Oh, sure. Oh, good gravy.
Huh. Well, this is going to be fun.
Can you pull that out for a second? I'm just wondering. Don't do what you're about. Don't do that. Oh God, he's doing it. Oh, it goes under that?
I think it does.
Oh, then it.
Does it? So the problem we're running into is that the top of the CPU cooler right here.
Right. This is a 3.5-inch drive bay.
This is?
Yeah.
Oh. You did a good job, Pat.
You know it.
Well, we should probably put the 3.5-inch drive in.
Put the 3.5-inch drive in. You know what I would do?
What are you going to do?
I'd just cut that right off of there.
File it down.
Just take a hacksaw to it. I don't know.
I don't know that I have a hacksaw. I have to have a hacksaw.
Did you tell all the lovely people on YouTube what what problem you ran into?
So for this drive bay, this metal piece on the back side is hitting the top of the CPU fan. There's a little,
I know how to fix it.
this little AMD logo.
Should I tell them how to fix it?
How you fix it, Pat?
Rotate the CPU cooler 180 degrees. It'll get that nipple off the top to the bottom.
That's
and then
it.
it won't be in the way of the RAM anymore either.
It's an excellent solution. That's a much better solution than how I have tackled this. So for future builders who follow along with this, make sure that the AMD logo on the fan's outer casing, is pointed towards the rear of the motherboard.
Is that like away from the drive bay?
Yeah, away from the drive bay is a good. Well, you'll have the drive bay out when you're putting it together, so.
So the drive bay could be anywhere.
Yes.
At that point.
Away from where the drive bay should be.
Jeff is smart.
How is Jeff smart?
Because Jeff said to Google Brian's blog and then use normal internet website common sense to find the Trade Wars link.
It's a fair. Holy moly. Look what that did.
Oh, geez.
Wow.
We made everything more difficult.
Woo.
Yeah.
Can the internet see the
No.
indentation on my...
I cannot because of the glow of your hat.
So the thermal paste on the CPU cooler is so tight that it pulled the CPU right out of socket even though the CPU was fully seated. And I am terrified of the amount of pressure that I was putting on it. I'm going to slide it forward. Still not getting a whole lot of... And there we got it off. What do you think? I'm going to need to re-sprig that, huh?
It's not too bad. It's not as bad as you would have thought.
Yeah.
I got some on my finger.
Yeah, I got
Should
some.
I eat it?
It's a bad idea.
Here, I don't have much on my hands. Why don't you let me put the...
Okay.
Which corner? Which here? Where's
The square corner is over here. And that's
There's no
him.
square
That-
corner.
Yeah.
All right, so I want to do this
That's
without...
pin.
I don't want to get any grease on the pins. Is the...
Yeah. Well, that's fun.
That is in.
And we solved the problem after we caused it. Should we clean up the... There's a little bit on the side there. Q-tip. Toothpick.
Paper towel.
Paper towel. All right. Any bets on whether this fixes it?
I'm pretty confident. Chris will be mad if I wipe this thermal compound on my shirt.
I'll be mad.
You should do that like it's a tire on your car.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the first one down and started. That's the... God almighty. I did it again. Wow. Square. Jeez, a loop. Now would be a good time for that technical difficulties. Or the Benny Hill song.
If you think Brian is doing a good job, press 1.
Well, they've done that twice.
Do you know why we're not playing the Benny Hill song, Brian? Because it's copyrighted.
Is it?
Has to be.
You think that copyright's been maintained?
Doesn't have to be. It's automatic. Somebody owns it.
We wouldn't be using it. We would be using it ironically. It would be a parody.
It might be, but don't get your first live stream delisted from YouTube over
Copyright
yeah.
infringement.
Everyone would laugh at you.
All 8 of them.
Wow, total.
Yeah, do we have any bets on how many people so far have tuned into the live stream?
Is our microphone sensitive enough that you guys heard me whisper it at Brian a few moments ago?
Probably not. Alright, what am I doing wrong now? That is not... Get in your hole.
That was okay because we moved the microphone.
Is that your name? No. I hate these. Wow.
Is it in yet?
Ah. Yes, thank God. It's interesting how everything that's really easy becomes insanely difficult when you've got an audience.
It's true. You picked a good night, Brian, for your first live stream attempt.
Why is that?
Because I can tell by the crickets on Twitter tonight that nobody is looking at the internet.
Everybody's busy with the Easter Bunny.
Yep.
Alright, so crisis averted. Hard drive bay now goes right in. Maybe. Yeah. There's
another bar there.
Yeah.
It'll be above, just above the RAM.
Yep. Alright, what are we going to do? Mount a hard drive.
Yeah, and Brian, that bar you were talking about earlier, I was wondering what kind of tool that was. I didn't see you take it out.
Huh.
I was wondering why he was using a crowbar.
Every now and then when working on computers, you need a pry bar. I'm thinking that I should.
We've gotten very boring now.
Yeah, we have.
What,
Well, I just mounted.
where'd you get that hard drive?
This hard drive came out of my NAS probably a year and a half ago. I started off with 7 2-terabyte drives, and then at one point, no, I started out with 6 2-terabyte drives, and then at one point I decided I wanted to grow it to 7, and that was a huge pain in the neck. I actually had to build another NAS to hold my data so that I could add that 7th drive. But then eventually I upgraded from 2 terabyte to 4 terabyte drives, and I had a number of good but used 2 terabyte drives left. So I'm using one of those in this particular build. And as is the case these days anymore, motherboard manufacturers are extremely skimpy with the kinds of SATA cables they send you. They have not sent me enough, so I'm going to go dive into my collection of SATA cables and get some.
Brian's gone, so I'm going to talk to you guys. I hate these kind of SATA cables with the little clips on the ends. Pain in the neck when you want to take them back out. Especially if you don't know they're there. If you yoink on these and you don't know that's on there, you're like, why is this not coming out? Burn them. I don't know what else to tell you guys. Welcome to the internet. I'm going to go over there again. I did a bad job while you were gone, Brian.
No, you didn't.
I was unprepared to.
I heard you. You did fine. So one of the benefits of writing 2 different NAS blogs every year is that I buy more SATA cables every single time than I use, and I have a whole collection of extras. So I have grabbed a handful of those, and will use them for this now. Do I want them all to match? Am I that particular? Yeah, I am. So I'll need 3 straight through. And
Well, everything in that case is black. I'm amazed you're not picking out 3 black. How many? What's in here?
Well, there's a lot of the black ones are in my collection here. A lot of them are the right angle. They have the right angle connectors on them, and I hate those. I hate them. So I will use blue. my 2 terabyte guy. And he's going to need power.
Why does it need power?
Well, power is what makes things go, Pat.
Ah.
You're doing very good at your color commentary job.
I'm doing my best.
You don't watch as much sports as I do, but that's exactly the kind of stuff a color commentator would say.
Hey Google, what is a color commentator?
According to Wikipedia, a color commentator or expert commentator is a sports commentator who assists the main commentator, often by filling at any time when play is not in progress.
Often when play is not in progress. That's when you're most boring, though.
Do you remember dodgeball?
Dodge, duck, dip, dive, and dodge. The 5 Ds. Yes, I do.
The color commentator there was Cotton. Was it Cotton?
No. Cotton was the primary.
Cotton was what? What was Bateman's character?
Jason Bateman.
That
was Jason Bateman.
But what was his character's name? I can't remember.
Must have had a name, right?
It was something ridiculous too. I feel old. Okay, Google. What was Jason Bateman's role in Dodgeball?
The characters in Dodgeball, a true underdog story, include Pepper Brooks.
Shut up, Google.
Was she not helpful?
He was correct. It was Pepper Brooks.
Pepper Brooks.
I did not know his name ever, I believe.
Who was correct?
Judy. Google.
I didn't hear Judy say it. Pepper Brooks.
But she didn't exactly say that. She said that was one of the characters, including, or I don't know what she. You guys know what she said, right? Olivia knew. Look at her.
Olivia did a good job.
Olivia did a very good job.
I am mounting the SSD to the bottom of this drive tray. Kind of poorly.
You sure you shouldn't put it on the top?
The optical drive will go.
Well, I know, but that's way deeper than your optical drive, isn't it? No, it's not. Never mind. It's a full. I thought you had a little optical drive. It's a full size.
Yeah, no, it's a.
They have one of the little,
Yeah, one of
the
those
server
slim.
laptop
Yeah.
size ones.
No, he's actually a burner too. I can write.
Well, you can be little and be a burner.
Yeah.
Can't we?
Not as frequently. I'm guessing. And I will also wish I could. Boy, oh boy.
I hate those little.
Okay, well, I was a little worried. I was a little worried that it was going to be 180 degrees in the wrong. No, that won't work. That one will not work. So we will have to. Golly, look at all those Molex connectors.
Oh, don't you know what you did, right?
Yeah, I do. Well, I'm just.
You folks at home might not know what he did, but he plugged that cable in such a way that it would not have made it past that support beam there.
You know what I would have done? Taken that beam out.
Brian, can I be kind enough to make a recommendation to you here?
Yeah.
You should put you probably have to, I don't even know, because I was going to suggest you put the burner in, because you're not going to get to those screw holes over there.
Yeah.
But I have another concern that it's not gonna. I don't know. We'll find out. Here you go. This is the. We call this a CD-ROM drive, but it burns Blu-rays. It's a conundrum.
Tell me I don't have to do this. I have to do this. I'm really glad I hooked up those cables before I. It feels like it just doesn't feel very good. All right.
There's a wire pushing up on it.
Yeah.
The big.
So what we're gonna do? I'm going. Oh, you're right.
I hope you guys heard what Brian just said.
That might be right. All right. The.
Will that come out with that on there? Why don't you put the two screws on the left then? You're right, my left.
Well, I know which ones they are.
Oh, good.
I kept track. I don't have enough hands for this.
Brian, are you aware that Hank Azaria was in Dodgeball?
Yeah, he was. The black and white guy, right? I mean, was what?
This is correct. He was, and I didn't know Patches O'Houlihan's name. I just knew he was Rip Torn. He was the young Rip Torn, the young Patches O'Houlihan in the Dodgeball video, the instructional video.
Black and white guy.
Yep.
Okay. In all your PC builds over the years, Pat, have you ever met a guy who, at the end of a computer build, you know, like what we're doing right here, if he had screws left over, he completely came unglued and went looking around to see where those screws went and put them in?
No, never. Is that you?
Oh, well, no. But I, in one of my very first computer upgrades, we went to a computer show.
Oh, yeah.
And bought some parts, and the guy helped me put it together. Nice guy, a coworker. But I bought a case and a motherboard, and he helped me put it together. And when we got done, we had any number of odds and ends screws. Yeah, that's not going to work. Screws left over, and he kind of went, I don't want to. Kind of had a little bit of a breakdown. He was really worried about my computer and about whether we put it together right. And I kept trying to tell him, it's like, there's enough for all sorts of different layouts of motherboards. That's why. And he didn't believe me. He's like, no, this is the right. You got to use up every screw.
Well, and he was helping you with your computer, too, so it's worse than if it was his that went wrong.
Yeah. I appreciate what he was trying to do. I eventually told him that I felt pretty good. That was a 5X86 AMD 133, am I remembering that right?
Probably. It's close.
Or maybe that was the 486 DX 120.
Probably like a DX4.
Yeah, DX4, you're right.
That's the sort of thing I replaced with my Cyrix 200. Yeah, I remember going to a computer show and helping a friend of mine pick out parts. And you're reminding me of this because you're putting that CD-ROM drive in right there. And I'm going to keep calling it a CD-ROM drive.
It is a CD-ROM drive.
He bought the cheapest case you could buy. It was so flat. I cut myself on it trying to put the sheet metal was so thin. But in the old days, I don't know if you still can, but if you screwed a CD-ROM drive in too tight, what it would do is when you hit the eject button, the tray would come out and then immediately go back in. So every time you hit we just had to loosen all the screws, just like an eighth of a turn, and then it was fine. It was a cheap CD-ROM drive too. It's probably cheap sheet metal on there too. Probably like a 4X.
I remember fixing a computer. Guy said it made a terrible noise when he would turn it on. And sure enough, he'd turn it on and it would make this screeching noise. Eee! We took it apart.
Wait a minute. What kind of noise?
I'm not making it again. We took it apart, and as a hard drive screw, he had used something that was this long, and it had gone all the way in and impacted the platter.
Yeah.
And that was making the noise, and that hard drive was
done,
toast. We took it apart, and it was that outer ring of the platter was demolished. Poor computer.
Well, I have some disappointing news for you, Brian.
What's that?
I'm pretty confident that the three of us are the only 3 viewers right now.
Well, that's good. I mean, I didn't want people. What is the difference between these two? Oh, that's PCIe. Okay. Are you still watching? Well, maybe there's one other person out there.
Well, maybe there's 2. I don't know how to figure this out.
Somewhere in the
I'm just watching on my phone so I can keep track of the chat. I don't think I'm watching on this computer here, and I don't think you're watching on that computer in there. So maybe it's not any of us.
Well, that'd be exciting. What am I forgetting? Other than plugging the drives in? I don't think I'm forgetting anything.
I don't think you're forgetting anything either.
I wanted to look at...
You're approaching the finish line.
I am approaching the finish line.
I'm so excited that the picture is straight now.
Oh. Well, that's interesting.
What are you thinking about?
I've looked at this manual a couple times, and it's been... What's the right way to say this? Not right on a couple of things.
I got it! I got it. My shirt was tall. How do we fix it? Oh, God!
Where'd you go? You really got it.
I really did get it. The picture's not straight anymore.
Where do we need to move the picture to?
No. There, it's close now. Still got a wobble to it.
I give up on this. See 3, 1 and 2. That's the hard run. This is the... So yeah, we want him to be... How much cable management should I do?
No.
I don't think I should do any.
There's a big gaping hole over there where there's nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, I gotta get power over the CD-ROM drive. You're in charge of remembering power to the CD-ROM.
It's gotta have power.
Yeah.
Where do you put the floppy drive in there? You only have one 5 1/4 inch bay. Where are you going to put the other 5 1/4 inch floppy drive?
Once upon a time at that computer store I worked at, we had a combo CD-ROM and 3.5 inch drive, 5 1/4.
Wow, and you didn't use it in this build.
No.
How are you going to copy Trade Wars onto it?
Well, I will probably do that over the network. Alright, this isn't going anywhere. Where did that twist tie go? This isn't going anywhere. We may have to do some gymnastics here. None of these are SATAs. I can't build a computer without using at least a couple zip strips. I'm not capable of that. Oh no, it's not big enough. Don't tell anybody I did this.
Is it a twist tie?
It is a twist tie.
I will not tell anyone that you used a twist tie.
Do not
To
tell
hold cables in
anybody
place.
that I used a twist tie.
I will tell no one.
Alright, so I have a conundrum.
Did you power up the DVD drive?
I have not yet plugged power into the DVD
If you
drive.
don't put power in the DVD drive, how are you going to put your dodgeball DVD?
I will dodge, duck, dip, or dive to get it in there.
It looks like you almost
I
dipped and
I just about went.
dipped and dived.
Alright. So this is all of the SATA cable, all the SATA connectors have been used up, and the shape and the size of the remaining ones does not oh man. Tell me that's facing the right direction. It's facing the right direction. That is not going to work. I need
He's not going to tell us, folks. What do you think he needs?
well, I'm gonna. Oh, even this one has a. I should have. I don't know how that goes on there. I'm going to need a way to extend this SATA power connector to reach up to the DVD drive. So I'm going to have to go dive into my excess parts from the NAS builds.
I'm going to see what happens if I put on one of those. We're having technical. I don't know what it's called. No, it's not that much fun. It's just. Oh, they do have technical difficulties, and they have a. Yeah, I don't like any of these. I'm just gonna walk by a few times. We're going to take some time to talk about Squarespace.com because I've never used it before and I have no idea why anyone would. I don't know. I'm sorry. Brian's in the garage. What do you think he's doing in here? His power. Oh, he only has one SATA power cable and it's not long enough. That's not nearly long enough. That ain't making it. It ain't happening. Found the floppy drive power. Did you find it?
Sorta.
I know what you found because that's the only thing I ever have.
I'm not excited about the solution.
It's
but
happening.
I got a splitter. So what I will do is I will plug this cable that doesn't reach into the splitter. And then that will just barely reach to where I need. And now I'm going to get to use a zip strip or two. The top of this splitter is just a little too close for comfort to the CPU cooler, and gravity's fighting against me. So
Do you know what fights against gravity?
zip strips. Now, I'm gonna dive into my quadcopter cabinet over here to get
That is a massive zip tie for this purpose.
some real manly zip ties, not these little. Now, if I put this on here,
There's clearance. I see it.
yeah. Well, I just wanted a clearance.
That's why they've got that little foam pad on there.
Yep. I'm gonna tie both of these.
It's too bad my friend Bob isn't here.
What is that?
Because, you know, with this optical drive, this archaic thing you put in here, it reminds me of the time that he bought OS2 Warp. Was Warp 3.0? 3.1? I don't know what it was. OS2 Warp, it had to be. And he bought it on CD-ROM because it was $10 cheaper. Now, we were in high school at the time. So $10, that's a lot of money. That's like a whole tank of gas back in 1993. So that was... And geez, it might have even been before then, so we may not have needed gas. So $10 was an awful lot of money. But he didn't have a CD-ROM drive. I was the only one in our group of friends that had a CD-ROM drive. And that CD-ROM drive was not compatible with it didn't have a driver for OS2. So he came over to my house one day with a stack of floppy disks, and I found as many 3.5-inch floppy disks as I could that we could erase. And we wrote those disk images. There were probably 30 of them. And we walked over to Bob's house, 4 miles away. I don't know how many miles away it is. We could Google map that sometime. And we get up there. We get to like the 8th or 9th floppy when there's a read error. So we have to go back to my house, and we literally do not have another floppy disk. So we take one of the first 1 to 8s that we know is good, and we write disk 9 onto that. And then we walk back over to Bob. This is all to save $10. We walked back up to Bob's house, put in disk 9, it worked. I think that happened one more time. We made so many round trips. All to save $10. That $10 would have been worth it because he would have got like 50 floppies out of that more expensive box.
Yeah, the opportunity cost of the time lost there.
Yeah, the blank floppies we would have had after he was done. They wouldn't have been blank though. We would have had to keep them. I don't know. Are you putting the lid on? I should have brought you some thumb screws.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to use these
screws.
Yeah. Well, and they're
They're weird.
well. I think these. No. These. I don't know what these are for. To be honest. Oh shoot! And I'm forgetting something. Where'd that piece go? Good grief. If we weren't live streaming this to the internet, I would just throw this piece away and not put it on. But because we're live streaming it to the internet, I don't want to lose any credibility here and skipping steps on something that
Well, your friend told you that you have to use all the parts, Brian.
he taught me well.
Oh,
Did you see
jeez.
that?
Yeah, I did. Good gravy.
Good gravy's right. This is an utter waste of time. I've been a big fan of most of the Silverstone cases I've used in the past. I've used a couple for NAS builds, but this is kind of a bummer. But it'll give me something good to rant and rave about when I write a blog about this.
It will.
I'm good at ranting and raving. I'm pretty sure I'm doing that right.
Is it in yet?
How many people we got tuned in right now?
3.
Still?
No, again.
Uh-oh. That's no good.
It's important not to leave metal things floating around inside your case because they could short circuit anything.
All the things. I'm about to skip this piece.
It's too late. You've already invested 8 minutes in putting that in. Do you need me to hold anything?
Yeah.
Right there?
Well, pinch right there where my fingers are. But don't get your big meat. Yes, they're in the way now.
Where? I don't even
The
know
screw
where.
holes, but literally
On the
right
bottom or the top?
the bottom.
Okay. Oh.
Is it going in?
I can't feel it. It's going in. I see it.
Yeah, now it is. Thank you, sir.
You're welcome. Anytime.
You're a wonderful, lovely assistant. Not impressed with that.
Whoever just joined, they've been. They're still watching us do that.
You know, the one thing I didn't think of,
Just one thing?
just one. I do not have, because I traded you, I do not have a monitor that's got a DVI input on it.
Do you want mine?
Well, it's back at your house.
Oh.
We need it right now.
You don't have a DVI to HDMI?
I probably... No, I mean, the monitor's got an HD 15. I mean, it's got a
It's a VGA.
It's a VGA
Oh,
connection.
you don't have a DVI to VGA?
I don't think I do. We'll go check. Well, we vent for some time here. We got DisplayPort, HDMI, and DVI. It's got onboard. It's got onboard video, I think, and it's got VGA. So we'll kind of fake it.
Brian didn't really tell you guys what he's doing. He's collecting a monitor, a keyboard.
Oh, geez, I didn't even think about a keyboard.
He didn't actually think about a keyboard. That's okay. But he's got this jeez Lou. Don't tell anyone I said that. This home theater PC assembled, and we're going to try to plug it in and verify that he didn't actually screw anything up. Brian, why don't you tell us a little bit about the parts you used in here?
Well, it's AS Rock. I don't know how to say that. ASRock. The AB350M Pro 4 motherboard.
What kind of CPU goes in a motherboard like that?
I chose the AMD Ryzen 1500X. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, DDR4, I think. 2666 megahertz.
Middle of the road stuff.
Yeah, middle of the road. Not bad. Not great. I used an MSI GTI 1050 TX
TI.
TI GPU.
Is that an NVIDIA card?
It is. It is NVIDIA, made by MSI. There is a 2 terabyte hard drive in there, 250 gig SSD, and
What kind of SSD did you use?
I used a Samsung 850.
I like the Samsung SSDs.
I'm a big fan of
I've
the
been
Samsung
enjoying them for
850s.
quite a few years now.
I've got several of them in all of my computers. It should be a decent little machine.
I don't even see the power button.
This is a
Just start touching on it until it turns
right
on.
here.
Okay.
Well, I need a power strip. I need a power strip and a keyboard. Still.
Brian's using this old school 4:3 19-inch. I believe it is a 1280 by 1024 monitor. He claims it doesn't even have HDMI. Oh, it has DVI.
Does it?
Yeah, it has DVI.
I just don't have it.
You just don't have a cable in there. I wonder if I have an old HDMI to DVI, or you just need DVI to DVI.
Yeah, I just need DVI to DVI.
I'm gonna leave this panel off so Brian doesn't get confused.
Where? No, not really.
I'm gonna get out of the way because this is Brian's YouTube channel, not mine.
Keyboard, mouse, power cable.
Every now and then I have to remember to look at the video to make sure I haven't bumped the camera with my big fat head when I try to walk by. The last time I bumped it, my collar on my shirt caught the camera. What? Is it long enough?
No.
Is it long enough now?
Barely.
Just don't trip over it.
I won't.
Is this an OSHA violation?
This is probably all sorts of violations. All right. What we got
The
here?
monitor is not on yet.
It's not. Do we need to hit the power button on it?
Maybe. I mean, it might be on. I just don't see an LED yet. There's the LED.
Yeah.
It's on. No signal.
Good. I have not turned anything on yet. Alright.
We have a blue power light. The CD-ROM drive is flashing.
Hey, am I in the video? Any bets on whether it posts? We need to play the Jeopardy theme right now. Is that copyrighted? It must be.
We don't even know if it's gonna. Oh, a new light came on. Is that the hard drive LED blank?
I hope so.
You don't even know if it's outputting video on this port, do you?
No, I don't.
You have no idea.
I have absolutely no idea.
Do you have a DVI cable?
I might have a DVI cable somewhere. That's long enough to...
Figure it's trying to do something if the hard drive LED's blinking.
Yeah. Trying to think of what the best way to do this is. Let me, trying to think if I actually have a DVI cable somewhere. I mean, I've got them. I just don't.
We just took a few out.
Yeah. Do we take them out or do we keep using them?
Brian.
Wow. That's a...
I don't know if we took them out or kept using them.
Hey, look at this.
That's an Amazon box. What's in there?
I'm hoping a DVI-DE cable. Or we're just DVI. Ooh.
Is that long enough? Look at how beefy that is.
Why did I bought this for a reason. I bought this for...
Do you know, I know why Brian bought this, but he's not sure.
You
didn't know if one of your new monitors was going to reach the...
Yeah, it doesn't, but I'm also moving here in a few weeks, so I'm not
Oh, I like the sound of that. It's a few weeks.
2 weeks.
2 weeks.
I mean,
you're moving in 2 weeks.
Well, I'll have closed on the house that we're living in and completed the purchase of another house by then.
Yoink that other plastic cover off of there to make room.
Oh, well, I'm not gonna...
I thought maybe that barrel connector was in your way.
Yeah. No, I just couldn't. I couldn't see or get at it very well.
Brian can't see because he's an old man, and old men need glasses. You see what happens if you win one of Brian's NAS builds when he gives those away? Even though he's just testing right now, he is screwing in the DVI connector doodads.
I didn't want gravity to get me.
Ooh, it's working.
BS.
It's total BS.
Alright.
Any bets on whether this is going to work? We've got no signal.
It won't work right now. Do we need to change the signal?
I'll bet you we do.
Auto. It's not doing anything.
Turn it on first. See if it maybe it'll, the computer I mean, see if it'll detect it.
can't get back over.
Hey!
Look at that! It posted! Ha! This is a NAS data disk and cannot boot system. System halted. Oh no, are you okay?
Yeah,
I'm not gonna have to give you mouth to mouth, am I?
Don't ever give me mouth to mouth, Brian. Just let me die. It'll be fine.
Alright, well, that concludes the hardware build part of this experiment. I will wind up writing a blog about everything that I did just right now, why I bought the hardware, what I thought about putting it together, and then I will amend to that blog the software setup that I do, loading the operating system, getting Kodi running, getting it working with my Steam library, pairing up the keyboard, the little keyboard and mouse that I bought, getting controllers bound to it, and all the other fun stuff that you do when setting up a home theater PC.
You're saying there's a lot of stuff left to do.
There's a lot to. This will be a several thousand word blog, even though I've done most of the, I guess, the little laborious stuff right now. So I guess thanks to everybody who tuned in. I'm pretty pleased that this actually powered up and we didn't have any problems.
You did a good job, Brian.
Thanks everybody.
Say good night, Brian.
Good night, Brian.